Hello, everyone. Lisa Helps here. Thanks for the opportunity to bring some greetings to your Social Connections workshop that you're having today. I'm recording this video here in Burnaby and wanted to begin by acknowledging the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam nations for stewarding these lands that are their lands, these waters that are their waters, acknowledging their ancestors and the many people who have struggled in these lands and who welcome those of us who are newcomers here. I'm really happy to be here today to just share a little bit about the new BC Builds program that was launched last week. And happy to do so in the spirit in which you're working, the importance of the built environment, building design in a way that encourages social connection, resilience, and community. And I think for me, you know this better than I do because you're there at the workshop, but it's not only all of those things that I just said, it's also, I believe that we have so many complex problems facing us as a community and as society. And we literally cannot solve those problems in isolation. We cannot solve those problems alone. So building buildings and creating cities where we can come together more easily and more joyfully is going to get us where we need to go. So I'm sharing my slide deck. I hope you all can see it. I'm going to attempt to present and hope for the best here in Teams. So BC Builds is a new program launched recently, and it's really meant to deliver more housing more quickly for middle-income British Columbians. Doesn't remove all the important work that BC Housing's been doing for many years on low-income supportive housing, but what we're seeing is a slowdown in the rental construction market, and without some instep from government to fill that gap, I think people in our communities, teachers, nurses, construction workers, bus drivers, others, are going to be in even more dire circumstances than if BC Builds didn't come along. So the secret sauce of BC Builds is identifying low-cost land owned by governments, community groups, First Nations, nonprofits, bringing everyone together and moving quickly through the development process, and then providing low-interest financing and grants. And so it's really the land plus the expediency plus the financing and grants that end up with rents that are lower than they would be if left to the market to deliver. I'm not going to go through each of these slides in detail. I'm actually excited to show you some of the first demonstration projects because I think they fit really well with some of the things you're discussing today. But there's obviously our target is renters. We're starting with renters, moving to home ownership in a little bit of a later phase. And the idea is to build homes that people living in these income ranges can afford on the salaries that they're making. For community government and nonprofit landowners, BC Builds helps unlock underutilized land, develop a vision, and really brings everyone together early on to make sure that we're getting homes built quickly and we're doing it in and through community. And then opportunities for nonprofit, First Nations, and private developers and housing operators to partner on some of this land and help to get housing built. So these are just a few of the projects, and I know we've got some municipalities and First Nations in the room today. And if you have land and you want to do projects through BC Builds targeting middle-income households, please come see us. But also really pick these projects, A, because they're good ones, but B, because I think they show some of what you're working through. How do we design buildings and spaces that also foster community and connection? So shout out to the City of North Vancouver, and I know we've got the planner from the city there today. This is a 15-story building on top of a 3-story neighborhood house. And the neighborhood house delivers so many community services to seniors, youth, food programming. And again, with people living here in these services downstairs, it creates the kinds of spaces that we want to see in buildings and in communities. This is another spectacular example. This is on the Cowichan Reserve lands here on Vancouver Island. And these two buildings, owned and operated by Quatsin Development Corp on behalf of the nation, and they were deliberately designed. The whole site was designed to foster connection, community. It actually might be a good site trip once it's built. I guess for a few years from that, they've built outdoor spaces for gathering, indoor spaces for gathering, and then space also for Indigenous businesses and their own governance headquarters for the Cowichan tribes. And then finally, a small example from Gibson's, this project is in development as well, childcare on the bottom floor of a small apartment building. And again, create space for families and children right in the buildings where they live. So those are some early projects. One of the most exciting things about BC Builds, and then I'm going to hang up, as it were, and let you get on with your day, is the way we work. So in the traditional development process, it's very linear: land, then feasibility, partnerships, approvals, and so on. And this process takes usually 3 to 5 years. With BC Builds, I like to think of this as the BC Builds rocket ship. And it's also really joyful, getting everyone together around the table at the beginning of the project, putting all the inputs in, and then coming out with a project under construction in 12 to 18 months. So that's a little bit about BC Builds. Curious to learn more about how the work you're doing in building design can fit with some of these communities we're trying to build in your communities across British Columbia. So thank you so much, and hope the rest of your day goes really well.